Here we go for December 21st. We have Scott Hopkins.
Here.
Tip Kung.
Here.
Harwood Tosh.
Here.
Stephanie Poole.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you. Item A, public comment. Is there anyone wishing to address the board for an item that is not on today's agenda? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Item B, approval of the minutes of the ABR for December 7th. Are there any comments on item 1 or corrections? Okay, moving on to item 2, 1 North Calle Cesar Chavez. Comments on item 2? Okay. Item 3, 926 Indio Muerto.
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
I find item 2, restudy the architectural style of the building that is more cohesive with fewer gaps between the modern. I don't know.
I think the gaps is an odd word for
Fewer,
styles.
yeah.
Have it.
I just think that whole thing needs to be reworked. Or
Take out with less
resaid.
gaps is more cohesive between the modern and traditional elements.
More cohesive, yes. Just
Between
strike
yeah,
with less gaps.
Yeah, strike with less gaps.
Restudy the architectural style of the building so as to be more cohesive? Like,
Sounds good.
okay.
So that.
Or so that it
So
is
that.
more cohesive. Yeah.
It is more cohesive.
Okay.
Okay.
And then item 6,
Mm-hmm.
concerns regarding the proximity to freeway views.
I think it's the building elevations from the freeway.
The building elevations from the freeway is a better way to state
So
that.
where it was
the end
read-
of the sentence on number 6, item 6.
So how does it read now?
Go ahead.
Study the north corner of the building in terms of mass, bulk, scale, and articulation. Many board members have special, what did you say?
Special concerns regarding the elevation viewed from the freeway.
Did you get that, Kathleen?
Yes.
Okay. And then item 8, the end of that says differentiate the plane. It's true that's what we asked, but
You could strike that altogether.
I think the applicant understood what that meant.
Yeah.
They were to,
So you want to strike the last 3 words?
yeah,
The whole sentence?
No, just differentiate.
just differentiate the plane.
Well, I think plane is P-L-A-N-E anyway.
Correct.
But then don't you want to get offsetting of planes? Is that what you're?
Well,
I wasn't
I
there,
think
so
he did understand that the balcony needed to not be flush with the exterior walls on either side, adjacent.
The differentiate plane is ambiguous.
Yeah, good. That means he could go out farther then, and that would be an extreme cantilever. That would not be acceptable.
Anything else on this item?
No.
Okay. Moving on to item 4, 120 South Hope. Any corrections? Okay. Item 5, 226 South Voluntario. None.
None.
Item 6, 510 East Ortega. No. Okay, and that is it. Moving on to the approval of, I'm sorry.
Well,
Go ahead.
item 5, eliminate the proposed glass guardrails which are not acceptable due to their reflective nature. Should be should be stricken because we determined that opaque glass was acceptable or would be acceptable.
Sounds good.
I'm sorry, what was that? I'm not clear.
Oh, that was item 5, was it?
Instead of item 5 should say the proposed glass guardrails are not acceptable is clear, glass, but could be acceptable as opaque.
This is for 510 East Ortega. Okay, all in favor of the minutes as revised, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We actually
Well,
did
I
that.
abstain from item 1.
Okay, we did that backwards. Do I have a motion to approve the
Motion to approve.
second?
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. I
Aye.
abstain from item 1.
I
Okay.
abstained altogether because I wasn't here.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on to the consent calendar minutes.
All right, December 14th, item A, 414 North Salsipuedes Street, continued 1 week. Item B, 617 Bradbury Avenue, continued 1 week. Item C, 3714 State Street, final approval. Item D, 3869 State Street, final approval, and all those items were reviewed by Commissioners Gradine and Miller. For today's consent calendar,
Let's just make the motion on that one first.
Motion to approve.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved.
December 21st, item A, 3708 through 3773 Gregory Way, final approval as submitted. Item B, 305 West Montecito Street, continued 1 week. Item C, 414 North Salsipuedes Street, final review after final approved as submitted. Item D, 617 Bradbury Avenue, final approval with conditions. And those items were reviewed by Poole and Miller.
Thank you. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Okay. Moving on to item D, announcements. Any announcements from staff or board members?
Chairs Gradine, Board Member Tripp, and Board Member Miller will be absent from today's meeting. Item 1 on the agenda for 1028 Olive Street has been postponed indefinitely. And item 6 on the agenda, 1818 Castillo Street, has been postponed indefinitely.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just wanted to inform the board that Stephanie Poole is, in fact, this is her last meeting. We'd like to thank her for her time and commitment to the board. We're sorry to see you go. However, we do have a new appointment beginning next year. The council did appoint a new architect, I believe Steve Moore. Steve Moore.
More?
So he'll be joining us in 2016.
And then Kirk re-upped, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Well, congratulations on your final meeting. You made it.
Thank you.
Job well done. Good service to the city. I think we all appreciate it, as does the public. Well, let's make this a good one. Can we start the next item yet? Are we far enough along? It seems like
316. Well,
Okay.
316, 1 minute after the other one.
Yeah, we're exactly 3:16. We're on time. So let's go ahead and get the applicants up for 1135 San Pascual Street. Welcome. Let's go ahead. How are you guys doing?
Good, thank you.
Good, thanks.
I did bring all the plans, but usually staff brings.
We have them here. We'll pull them out.
Okay.
Can we get your names for the record, please?
My name's Rich Ridgway. I'm the owner and developer. This is Bruce Blodorn, and he's our construction superintendent that's worked with me for lots of years.
Great. So they'll grab the drawings here. Just one sec.
Yeah, I apologize. I'm calling for Susan. I don't see any plans upstairs.
Are they down below?
Do you want to submit it? Oh, you're right. They're down.
Give you guys a hard
I
time.
have them if you don't.
So this is scheduled for a
Around. Sorry.
25-minute review, so if you could keep your
Okay.
comments about
And
5-7 minutes.
if we could, I'll let Martha, who's my landscape architect, comment on these when she shows up. Can we start on the building plans? Okay.
Robert Adams. It's not Robert Adams, it's Martha DeGase. It's not Robert Adams?
It's Martha.
Oh, okay. It says on here that Robert.
Martha's always been my contact. Could have had him draw. And she's coming. So.
Okay.
Okay.
So we are here for
Wait a minute. I don't know.
final
Almost set.
review.
Oh,
I think
Santa's
we have
Law.
minutes
I'm on
from
the
the conceptual and preliminary approval.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm on the wrong one.
Thank you.
Do you have the minutes from the previous meeting too? If you've got them, great.
I do.
Okay.
I remember this project.
I remember.
So we have final details, final elevations, cut sheets for the light fixtures, color material boards, but there were some questions from the previous hearing.
You want to just go through the comments and?
Sure,
one by one?
sure.
Okay, let's do that. The board had positive comments regarding the project's consistency and appearance, neighborhood compatibility, quality of architecture and materials, and compliance with good neighborhood guidelines. The board found the proposed raised deck modification aesthetically appropriate and with no adverse visual impacts, and does not pose consistency issues with the architectural board review guidelines. The board requests the applicant ensure that the area below the raised deck is blocked and sealed from potential animal incursion.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be sheet 12. Right here.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's a lattice work to keep out
The
animals.
the critters.
Okay. Looks like it's room to go in there.
And this is one of the elevations, so we could take a look at this one. That's the front elevation.
Okay. We'll go through the comments and
Okay.
go through the section. Applicant to return with additional rear yard photograph documentation near the proposed crack backs in the adjacent neighborhood.
I'm thinking there's one more. I'm sure maybe I've got some on a bigger size, but that's the better quality.
So this is looking through the lot from the
Yes,
street.
and that is the existing fence, and we'll be replacing the existing fence in the same location on property line. We're gonna give the good side to our neighbors and keep the existing, what we call bad side, on our
Understand,
side.
yep.
And this shows it more up in the front location. The neighbors should go to a site plan?
Good idea.
So there's an existing residence up on San Pasquale,
Mhm.
and you can see, oh, can't, it's right here, the very back of the house is right here. So that fence line is this fence line that you see, and then it continues currently all the way down to just about that location, and it's where we're gonna stop it, just short of that tree. The concern was the land falls off. You can see the topography right here, and so critters could get under, and we're just gonna have metal fence posts, and they'll be taller than the 5-foot fence in this location because they're gonna go lower. I'll have 2x12 treated on this location, and then here we'll have the lattice work to keep the animals out.
Okay. Okay, let's move on to the last comment here. Provide a landscape plan and tree protection plan prior to final approval of the proposed project. So let's look at that after we get the landscape architect.
Okay.
Let's do the architecture now. And kind of
Okay.
walk us through some of the basic detailing, the windows, doors, and
There's Martha.
Hi, Martha. No worries. They got
elevation of the architecture. Essentially the same drawings that we saw?
Yes,
Okay.
with all the detail.
Okay. And remind us what the windows are, wood or metal or?
They're vinyl
Vinyl?
clad mill garden,
Okay. Are they white or are they?
white. And sticky. It's in here. It's over there. So the existing house is this kind of putty gray color, so we're going to match that and stay with that. And then this would be the roof shingles and highlight pop trims for the doors. Window trim is white, windows are white. And is that shading?
Fascia board?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then this slump block wall, which goes here and here, is going to get kind of a light plastered bag finish over it.
Like a wash.
Yeah. And then the wood
On
fence.
both sides?
Well,
This side's actually at grade, so this retains like 3 feet.
No.
And
this
in this
retains-
location right in here, it's actually over 3 feet, getting closer to 4 feet. And that's a bit of an issue because on top of that, existing grade from this side, we want to keep our neighbor's 5-foot fence. And so we're like 8.5 feet.
That's a bit of a hole there.
Yeah, and so we have a agreement with the neighbors and our planner, Allison. And so
yeah,
There's a
we
process.
just haven't gotten a letter back from, what's his name? Toad? Here. I can tell you here in a second.
Okay.
Allison pointed it out. She says, you know, you're really only supposed to be 8 feet. You're about 8.5 feet in this little spot back in here. And so there was a special thing we needed to do, and we submitted that letter to her and to,
It was Danny Cato who was supposed to write the approval letter.
Okay, so
Okay.
waiting on that.
yeah.
So this is
This is like 3 feet high.
3 feet high
Yeah.
from this to this.
Yeah. Currently, you
The-
can see through here is about 3 feet of grade change.
68. What does that say? 66? Finished grade is
Well,
64.
65 for finished floor.
Oh, 65.
But that might
This
be
is 69.
69 and 65. But there's a little bit of slope from here. So this is about a 3-foot.
I'm just trying to, like, is this
Yeah.
higher and this is lower?
Yeah,
Is this
currently
lower
it
and this is
exists that
higher?
way.
Yeah.
This house is up here, and you can see right through here are 3 topos. So it's kind of flat, and then it drops off. And so we're carving into this little triangle to create that, what's kind of a little bit of a hole.
Okay.
Should we allow our landscape architect to speak for a minute?
Sure.
Please.
Going to walk us through, let me read off the comment again. Provide a landscape plan with tree protection plan prior to final approval of the proposed project. No, I'm mute. Okay. I fixed it.
So one main component, since we have Little Creek here, is the, there's,
Microphone's off. You're fine, go
is
ahead.
it on now? I thought it was on. Is this restoration planning, and that was put together by
Watershed
Watershed Environmental. So we basically just reproduced it in our planting plan, and then you can see the restoration plants here is all native mix in here that we're really vegetating the bank there with some additional oak trees, and then different ribes and clematis and rus and all the good stuff. There's a little area of carex here, like a little tiny meadow area, so it's quite densely vegetated here. We've got some existing trees. We have the acacias, melanoxylon, along here.
And they're the street
And
tree. for
yeah,
that
it's a
street.
street tree. They're kind of old, gnarly. We've got an existing oak in this area, and another acacia as a setback tree. Another setback acacia here, and then the designated tree, street tree, 2 more acacia melanoxylon. So it's quite shady and very natural feeling through
And
here.
two big oaks
And
there.
there's oaks on existing, it's the kind of oak that, here, they pop up in the shade of a wall, right? So that's what's happened over time.
What does the
Yeah.
big dark line represent?
That's the creek setback area that's.
It's the line of inundation,
yeah.
technically. If the creek were to back up, that's as high as it would go.
Yeah, yeah.
And a little history
Top of
to
bank,
this
basically.
is this site had, the Boys and Girls Club owned it, and they were going to try and do their teen center and child care over there. And they didn't do some of their due diligence and later found out it had some lead in the soil and some hydrocarbon. They changed the oil in a car and found a hot spot of that too. And so it got tagged, kind of red tagged as toxic soil. And so they abandoned that plan. And so I went to the different departments and talked with environmental health, and we decided the best thing to do was encapsulate it because it wasn't going to migrate. And so this site is something that could be completely removed to a toxic waste site, or it could be encapsulated. And so we're actually encapsulating it with the slab, the driveways, the decks, and very small area of not much landscaping. The landscaping is going to be native and then a fabric and then 6 inches to a foot of clean soil and then a deed restriction telling anybody not to go dig into the soil.
Got it.
So that was the way it got resolved.
Kind of neat. So continuing on here, so we've just got in the Parkway planting, yarrow, achillea, a couple little accent plants in the front, again, kind of shady here. So we've got bird of paradise, we have a sago palm, back a ways a little bit where we've got a little niche, we have a pygmy date palm, Phoenix robellini. Again, quite limited through here. We've got this little retaining wall here, and I've got some rosemary on top of that. Again, bird of paradise, some agave, some aeonium or hen chicks or that kind of thing, or agave. There's an existing purple leaf plum here, which will protect. There's another one right here, but we want to put a direct walkway from the sidewalk to the front porch. Currently, the access is kind of peculiar up on the side here, so we want to make that a little bit more formal and traditional. And so just a few more bird of paradise, the achillea, and then we've got some, I'm sorry, my mind just went blank for a second, agapanthus. So we've just got some agapanthus tucked in for accent and shade tolerance. And then I have a few bronze-leaved accents to kind of bring up that purple leaf plum. I've got a cordyline and flax and that sort of thing.
Thank you, that's great.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
All right, you get it?
So does that conclude your presentation?
It really does. That's our cut sheet for lighting,
Okay.
dark sky.
Great. So let's close your presentation and open up public comment. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to address the board on this project? Seeing none, I'll close public comment and move on to questions from the board. Let's start with Chip. Any questions for the applicant?
No questions.
We'll jump down to Howard.
I'm looking at sheet 4, say a site plan, a very thoroughly drawn topo map and all that. And I see that you have a sewer in the space between the building and the back property line.
Under that patio,
And it
yeah.
goes like half a foot from the Oak Street. Do you have any notes or any thoughts on careful digging and excavating?
There should be a note on the tree protection plan.
Yeah,
Also, the foundations are-
pounding. So on the foundations, I didn't finish that. The reason I brought up the toxic soil was we're not going to be grading the site like you normally would where you got deep recompact. We're a thick mat slab, floating slab, so that we don't have to get down into the roots. If we would have tried to mitigate by taking the soil out, we'd lose all of these trees because they're really all on the perimeter, and if we did a normal grading operation, you're 3-4 feet down. So
What evidence do you have that oak trees' roots in a drought after 3 years are not all up to the surface anyway?
Well, I mean, they wouldn't rise to the surface due to drought. So,
The little ones that
Oh, yeah,
Wa-
yeah,
water,
the surface
water.
rights. Yeah, the surface roots. Well, they love to be under slab, against wall, anything like that. So we do have the tree protection plan. We're going to do our darndest and best to retain all those. Like I said, these are little seedlings that are now become beautiful, beautiful, substantial trees that have grown up in the shade of these little retaining walls along the property perimeter and so on. So, yeah, there's probably going to be some roots encountered, and then we have our typical notes that we use on our tree protection plans that are any root 2 inches or greater in diameter shall be cleanly cut, etc. So I think that we're going to do what we can do to protect those trees. They really add to the ambience of the project. So
It was our best option, because otherwise we're gutting and recompacting, and then we're going to get into the roots. It's like, I need to look at that. Is there on a foundation plan?
Yeah.
It's a thicket. Oh, I'm sorry.
Excuse me a second.
I mean, that sewer line could, if it's raised deck underneath there, it could run above the ground. underneath
Well, but
the
we
deck,
have to
couldn't it?
stay, it's got to get to that pump station, because the reason we have it is sewer is in San Pasqual. It is not in Anapamu. And so the depth of the line right here coming out of the main house is a depth we really need to pump to. And so this sits lower than this. And so we're a force main from there to there where it ties in the Y and gets to the existing sewer.
So are you pumping,
Uphill, yeah, from
you're
here.
flowing down into the
We're
little
flowing,
circle
these
there, right?
three will go into this guy,
Yeah.
and then this guy will come back this way.
I thought they're going into here, and this one is lifting it to there.
You know what, though?
That's right.
Bruce, we've got, did we move that one to there? Or I thought on our engineering plans, we actually had the pump station there. Sorry.
Howard, your question is in regard to the sewage injector line interfering with the oak trees?
My question is in regard to the preservation of large
Yeah.
trees very close to the property, on your property, within 3 feet of the building,
Yes.
and the sewer that is undetermined depth now going through that, and the slab of undetermined thickness laying on top of this, where there could be some extensions between tree roots if you got into a tight spot,
Right.
rather than cutting tree roots. I just would like to know if you have notes covering
Right.
those conditions to your satisfaction to keep the tree healthy and living.
Right.
yeah, as always, you don't know what's there until you start trenching, and that's why we have the protection notes and so on. To try and fence these trees is a little bit.
The other word, trenching, is kind of like, they
Yeah.
just going to go in with an excavator? and-
No. There's all the,
Where does it say that?
it says it on the tree preservation notes.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
And so, yes, you're correct.
And
That-
monitored, so.
Yeah, that is the location. I think, Richard, there was a time when that was the pump station, but I think that is the location. And they're
So
coming
with a longer
this way.
run, you have to go deeper.
Well, it's forced.
It's forced, so we don't have to, we can stay
So
as close
we
to
could
the surface
actually
as possible.
push it back and suspend it under the deck, like you were talking about. But we need to get it from these 2 units to that one. So there will be a little depth
Okay.
getting it to that station.
Anyway,
Then
my
it can-
question is all about
Yeah,
the conflict
right,
in the
Right.
back there.
right.
Anything else, Howard?
No.
Stephanie, a question?
I have a question for Martha on the sidewalks from the front unit off the side to the where. Here it is. You had stepping stones back here, but is this concrete here?
It's currently a sidewalk.
Oh, okay.
And
you
that's
just
a
are keeping this?
1928
Oh,
house.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Right. I haven't had a chance to look through the rest of them, so. Oh, I had a question about these column capitals that on the front elevation. Do you have a detail of
This one.
these boxy column capitals? Do you have a detail of those?
Gosh, which I'm sure we will. And my architect apologized. He got some flu today, so
Yeah,
we're on our
it's
own.
Going around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's take a look.
Those are roof. We should go back this way.
It would have been on one of these 3 sheets.
Those are windows and doors. Come back.
So,
No? Okay. It's
It's
just
these
a little
guys here.
boxy and lacking in detail. But if the rest of the board's okay with it, I am, but that's my questions and comments.
I have one quick question for you. Do you have an actual paint chip for this? This is the siding color, correct?
yes.
And it's kind of an off-white gray.
Right. And it matches the existing house that's there now.
Okay. Do we have a photo of that?
Oh, gosh, maybe not a good
I don't
one.
think so.
In previous submittals, we did.
Okay. That was my question. Let's move on to comments.
If I have one
Okay, go
question. Can you turn to sheets 14?
14.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, there. It's the existing
Okay.
house.
Okay. I was worried there wasn't enough contrast between the siding and the windows, but clearly there
They
is.
pop pretty good.
Yeah.
Gray and white?
It's been done before. You're welcome.
Okay.
Comment.
Let me see.
Go ahead, Chip.
Can you tell me where is that staircase going to?
Okay. This one?
Yeah.
To a basement.
And where is it on the first floor?
In the first floor, it's right under here. So we're building a kind of a trap door where you have to lift the deck to be able to access down to the basement. A
Interesting.
little tricky.
To the new basement.
Yeah. Oh, no existing basement.
So the existing trapdoor.
Yes, but I'm going to modify because the existing doesn't even really have a trap door. It's just got some steps
Stairs.
down to a doorway underneath that sits somewhere right under here.
Thank you.
Be ready for tornadoes.
Who'd like to start with comments? Howard?
I don't recall seeing this project recently. Was this?
It was
It's
over
been
a
a
year
lot.
ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last April, I think, when
We
you saw
got
it
caught
last.
up doing other stuff and just didn't push it.
So I'm okay with what I see. Yeah. You're okay if I'm okay?
Comments? Chip?
No comment.
I think I have to agree, it's a nice project. I think it's pretty well detailed. The column cap caught my eye too, that Stephanie brought up. I don't think I'm going to raise it to the level of a proper comment, but maybe something you look at,
Okay.
have your architect look at.
Happy to. Just
It looks a little,
couple steps to it.
it
Okay.
looks chunky, yeah.
Okay.
Other than that, it seems to be a well-detailed project. The colors, I think, are acceptable. I'm in favor of approving it. Would someone like to make a motion?
Well, I'll make the motion to approve, and this would be for a indefinite continuance to
And
consent.
this is for final approval.
Final approval.
Last time we see it.
Submitted.
Okay.
Just to clarify,
Building department.
this needs project design and final approval. And we need to have the 15183 exemption read. I left the memo. It should
Okay.
be, it's right there under the glasses. That has to be read into the motion as well.
Wall fence.
So you're referring to this?
No,
Oh, here we go.
Howard, would you mind reading that off?
Not at all. Oh, here we go. Okay, so this is project design approval first.
We're doing both.
And,
yes.
and,
final.
and we're going to do project design and final approval. Okay, the Architectural Board of Review finds that the project qualifies for an exemption from further environmental review under CEQA guidelines, section 15183, based on the city staff analysis and CEQA certificate of determination on file for this project. So that's one. So then, do we have to make the other findings here?
I think that's it.
That's it. I'll second that
Okay. I would like you to be sure about the notes pertaining to hand digging in the back there and the search for alternatives in case vital tree roots, and not just little surface feeders, but some, either significant root structures are under there that would preclude your executing your slabs and your sewer system. So that would be the only condition that I would put on this final approval.
Well, that would,
Pretty technical thing.
yeah, I'm not quite
Well,
sure.
that's a note to the inspector, or
notes right
whatever it is.
And,
Also, he's got to make a correction to his plan there. Civil plan.
Yeah, I
that's
think
a
that
building
the,
department review item, isn't it?
engineering plan might
This is
trump
final
this one.
approval. So.
But yeah, I mean, we're not reviewing the working drawings per se, as a from a building department standpoint. We're looking at it architecturally.
Martha's plan has it correct in the right location. I think I didn't update my architectural plan. There was a time when that pump station sat there.
Anyway, it was just
Yeah.
asked and answered. So
Okay.
Okay.
that's-
So are you attaching those conditions to your motion, Howard?
The conditions,
Yeah.
well, the plans all made consistent with your latest thinking on the sewer, and also that you do not kill the trees in the back there in the process, or replace them on a serious level.
Question for staff. When we're giving final approval, can we attach a condition?
Yes.
Okay.
It's probably in here.
So that's my motion.
Do we have a second for that motion?
I don't understand the motion. Can you please restate it?
What
you have, Kathleen?
I'll do my best to restate it. The motion is for design approval and final approval with the condition that the applicant pay particular attention to the tree roots as they're constructing and digging the trench for the sewer line. Is that more or less correct?
Simply stated. Very well.
Okay.
Hand digging.
Hand digging.
We have a
Yeah.
second for the motion.
Second.
Can't second my own motion.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you guys for coming in. So we keep one copy, and you guys take home the rest.
And here's this for you.
Which copy?
We can keep that one. Okay.
Oh, can you announce the 10-day appeal?
Okay. There is a 10-day appeal for this project, if you wish to appeal. You have 10 days to do so.
Can we still submit these into the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Give you these to keep with that. Okay, we are on to item number 3. (200) Helena Street, or Helena Avenue, pardon me. Hey, guys. You too. Good.
Short board today. Nice.
Yeah, makes it easier.
Thank you.
I think we're good. Is it the same as this one? Okay,
So-
if you guys could state your names for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and board members. I'm Clay Rowe with AB Design Studio, architect for the project.
Good afternoon, Matt Beausoleil, AB Design Studio.
Okay, welcome.
So we were back here in front of most of you. Stephanie, you weren't here, but most of the rest were back in June with a shipping container-based project on the corner of Yananali and Helena, across the street from Fig Mountain Brewery. We've brought some little packages for you guys that just have ideas of finishes and some container-based stuff, as well as a couple. Where'd that wand go? Is that wand out here somewhere? Oh, thank you. So some of the comments that we had from the last hearing, I'm going to kind of go through them one by one, if you don't mind, but the board understands the container projects pose specific concerns. The containers must be acceptable and appropriate for the neighborhood, especially in design, detailing materials. We are back for concept. We're in the DART process at the moment. We've refined the design, including colors, especially the color that was a big concern last time we were here, and added some more elements of plaster and other things. But largely, it's the same footprint, and that's really due to the function of using the container, which is a module, 8 feet in that direction, and they're 40 feet long in that direction, and they're just stacked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have all of our stairways are external, so that the containers are really capturing the floor area of the space. And then there's a front patio out here at the corner. Part of our project will be improving the entire sidewalk that is currently dirt from the corner here, the curb cut to, from the curb ramp to the driveway curb cut here. That'll be part of this project as well. Moving on, there's a couple other comments. Provide a canopy tree in the corner and additional landscaping. So we have one here, and then we'll go to the landscape plan. Restudy alternative to the trellis, which is aggressive and overwhelming and adds to the impact of the building. We've studied this a lot. We're really trying to we've lowered the height of it. We've reduced it in terms of its frequency of materials. But we're really feeling this is a necessary thing given the roof deck component and having some shading elements, as well as on this side shading the stairs and part of the deck. As the sun rolls around, we get a lot of benefit out of this side. Provide a color board and material board. So we've provided that on this small 11 by 17 package. I'm going to run through this really quickly. No, we're not doing green glass. It's just an artistic rendering, so forgive me. Everybody knows where the project is. Stephanie, for your benefit, where are we here? Wow. Okay, it's right here. So this is the old Sea Cucumber site. It has this old building that's pretty dilapidated. I think if you sneezed really hard, you can knock it over. But this is where they did all the processing. So our project, here's some neighborhood context. Again, I'm looking upside down. This is the Oriana building here, which is this CMU. It's basically a CMU building structure right on the property line here. This is a view of our building over this fence, which will go away. We really want to open it up to the corner, to the funk zone. This is images of the building here and images of the site. This is a barn structure that's directly behind us. It is here.
Is that on your property or is that Jason?
No, sorry, it's on the adjacent parcel. Our property line is basically right here, and that building is sitting here. Obviously, this building, CMU building, we've been growing vines on it since we did that project, but where Fig Mountain is and the guitar bar and whatnot, that might be shown. Those photos. Here's our property. The Oriana site sits here. Here's the existing structure. Here's an existing shed that'll be removed, and then adjacent parcel. That other building's not showing up on that survey, but
This is getting removed too.
this is getting removed, exactly. This is the area where there's no sidewalk, so it comes all the way to here, and then we'll continue it on to our property line and meet up with the other sidewalk that's over here. So we're going to be improving that. Existing street trees, you can see, are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we have a proposal to add 1 here, as well as a tree in the corner and several trees on the property in our parking zone, which is, you'll see here. So here's the street trees. I misspoke. I thought we had one here, but I was thinking it was that one. So we have this new tree at the corner. We have these existing street trees. This one's rather large. And here we'll be improving the parkways all along. Here's the new sidewalk coming down this way. This curb cut will remain. There's an existing curb cut here that'll slide just slightly over so that we can align this parking area. New trees here and here and here. One of the comments was about landscaping. We're trying to pick up, we're going to do a permeable paver system on the patio. We have an image of it, or the design of it anyway, or at least the style. and part of our materials board, so I'll kind of keep this out. So we're looking at a paver like in this fashion that would have some breakups and things that allow planting to kind of show up and be integrated into the flat surface along the patio and along this edge. So we like that kind of idea.
Is that cement? Are those cement planks?
Yeah. Let's see. The stairs I said were external, so there's one here and one here. There's an elevator here that's not drawn on this site plan here. We have a little enclosure for electrical and elevator machine, and then trash enclosure on the back side over here. This building and the parking, we need 9.42 parking spaces for the square footage, so we're right on point here. This portion of the site will be used by the owner for valet parking for his nearby hotel. So that's why this area isn't being utilized. And what we've done along the sidewalk, we'll see, you saw in the renderings perhaps, is alternating a low plaster wall. So we're counting on a 42-inch enclosure that comes around like this. It notches out here to receive this tree planter well. And then it alternates from kind of a wire mesh to plaster to wire to plaster, and it kind of alternates back and forth along this line. And again along this line, and then we've added our bike parking here, which we really only need, I think, one, but we're showing we have room here. We're putting 3 in. So that's that. We'll go to the plans are relatively simple. I'll just run you through them quickly since it might be of interest, but this makes up one 40-foot shipping container here, and then another one here. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that would be the ground floor, and then it's stacked right on top of it for the second floor. What happens when you work with shipping containers is you can cut the walls out in between them, the rigid frame, top and bottom, and the corner points get locked together, and then you usually do just a tube steel strengthener along the seam to get that wide open space. The goal is to have this as wide open as we can. We're anticipating a couple interior columns, but largely on the exterior are the other functions, the stairs, and we push a small little restroom towards the back. The roof deck here, as you can see, this is facing north. Well, it's actually really this way, right? So this will have a lot of exposure. What we liked, we figured this will be a nice promontory location where you could we're pretty confident we can get an ocean view here. And then a covering kind of over this entry area, and there's a covering over that stairs so that these areas are protected. And as the sun moves around, the deck will get exposed, and then as it drops down towards the west, that'll help really shade this deck in the late afternoon. So we're really enjoying that aspect of it. So from an elevational perspective, this is the Yananali Street elevation, looking north. I should say south elevation. Just saw that. So again, you can see, look, we've added in where the trees are. The street trees down Helena, tree here in the front. These tall trees that are street trees along Yananali. We really feel like we're going to get some good shade and other things from the trees. You can see the alternating plaster wire mesh with little growies in it. So it allows us to get some planting to kind of take over these areas. So we're trying to meld in this kind of shipping container architecture in an industrial setting, but also bring in some softer elements, especially where the pedestrian is going to interact with the building. There was a comment before about integrating plaster, so we've tried to do that in these little walls and on these other walls on the side. This is actually the north elevation, but this is the one facing the parking lot. You can see the elevator tower here. This is the back door, if you will, of the containers, and then this is the exposed exterior stair that will come down and exit out. And these are plaster walls and plaster walls. One of the things we're really trying to do in this project is integrate art, and it's not reflected in this, but we've been talking with the owners about having mural walls or walls dedicated, or that could be at some point dedicated two murals, and that's where some of this shows up on the Helena side. So on the Helena side, this is out at the sidewalk. You can enter and exit through here. This is the elevator tower, and this is the stair tower in front of it. And this is where we've talked a lot about having some kind of artistic mural or either an exhibit or something hung. I mean, we've gone through a lot of different iterations, which is why we haven't shown anything today, because we couldn't nail one down. But this has really been an area that we feel, and right across the street is Reds, and they have got that big mural wall on it that changes from time to time. So we like that aspect, as well as what's going on Fig Mountain with the changing art gallery doors and those sorts of things. So we want to try to keep that element alive in the funk zone as much as we can. Again, we're going with a much softer palette. This is sort of a lighter, not white, but a lighter color, and then this is just a slightly darker color, plaster, just to try to keep it softer. And that's the last page. So coming back, I'll go back to the front where we have the...
Got to wrap up the presentation shortly.
I will. I'm going fast. Got Cottonmouth already. So just to talk about some elements, because I think that helps. Again, we're talking about pavers on the ground. We're talking about kind of a wire mesh railing that integrates in between the plaster and then would be the railing up on the top. We're talking about these vertical wood slat elements that would be in kind of a whitewashed wood, something that's very clean and simple, but brings some more warmth to the project. We're talking about dark anodized windows and door systems. Here's an example of a shipping container project that kind of has a similar coloration of what we're thinking in terms of the exterior of the container. We love the idea of expressing it and being able to control it. These are some of the colors. This would be the color on the container. This would be the color on the plaster. That's obviously for the windows. And there's a little element of blue up in here that we were going to play with to kind of mimic the sky. So we're kind of playing with an idea there. And I think other than other random context photos of the funk zone and what's going on down there, the rest of this package is just context. So there's a lot of different things happening.
So that concludes your presentation?
Yes, sir.
Great. Let's open up public comment. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this project? Seeing none, I'll close public comment, and we'll move to questions from the board. Stephanie, you want to start?
Sure. Why did you, it looks like you were exposing the end edge of the shipping container doors rather than showing the corrugated siding in that location. Why did you decide not to use the corrugation there?
That's a great question. One of the design elements that we're playing with on this project is negative and positive. So there's, in one sense, negative meaning glass, being able to see through it, and positive meaning that you've got this sort of more austere front to it, and playing with that again along the way, along the path on these little walls, and again playing with it in some of these elements. To be perfectly honest, besides that concept, we just love the doors. They're really cool when they're there, and you can open them, have glass behind them, and you can start to play with the facade in different ways so that it's kind of ever changing. And then we think that
So those will be operable.
they can be operable. They are operable.
This end.
And the final product will be operable.
Yes.
And do you have to insulate that door assembly somehow, or?
Not really. And we can we'll have a glass panel behind it, and then it'll just open up.
Okay.
So you can play with that a little bit. It's kind of, there's some really great examples of container architecture out in the world where they do that, and they have open and closed, and it's just a fun way to play with the facade.
And what is the color of the steel finish details that are on the building? The stairs,
Like
the railings.
the stanchions and the stairs. It'd probably be a darker gray. So we probably have a few values of gray, a lighter gray and a slightly darker, and then a little bit darker on the steel.
Can we go back to elevation day? Is this more that wood?
This is wood.
Slat?
Yeah, that's the wood.
And why did you choose to whitewash it rather than go with the natural wood that you showed us pictures of?
Well, I don't know that we're going to whitewash it and be completely white. We just want to we want to cut the orange out of it. We don't want it to be really orange and vibrant, and it tends to do that. The natural wood like this can do that. So we're playing with the idea of knocking it down a little bit, like a light-bodied stain or something that cuts the orange color out of it, like that.
Chip, question for the applicant?
Yes. Okay, first of all, can you read to me the comment from last time?
Yes. Thank you. Oops. See the wrong one. Okay. The board understands that container projects pose specific concerns to the proposed containers must be acceptable and appropriate for the neighborhood, especially in the design, detailing, and materials. Number 2, provide a canopy tree in the corner and additional landscaping pockets to soften the exterior appearance of the structure. 3, we study an alternative to the trellis which is too aggressive and overwhelming and adds to the impact of the building. 4, provide a colored board and materials board and propose alternative materials other than concrete and steel. The proposed colors are not supportable, and plaster would help to soften and anchor the building.
And the comment.
Board comments. At least half of the board is concerned about the appropriateness of the proposed design of the container and this location's proximity to State Street and the historic train station. Study a more nautical and/or industrial design to be in keeping with the funk zone area. Nautical. Okay.
Okay. Okay. First of all, maybe you can explain to me, but first I'm trying to read your drawings, and I have a problem aligning the elevation with the floor plans. I just couldn't. For example, if I look at your floor plan here, it said this is number 2, 4.01. I want to look at number 2 here.
Is there a mislabel, it looks like?
It's like they mislabeled it.
It's I couldn't tell which elevation is that one.
Yeah, the T's mislabeled.
That's one comment I have. Oh, you look at elevation number 3, and I look at 3 here, and it doesn't look anything like rendering at all.
Yeah, they went one way on the numbers and another way on the sheet, so it looks like they're all off.
And another thing, which I think I'm trying to help understanding the drawing, is that I see that you have container, then you have built-in plaster, concrete walls or plaster walls.
Mm-hmm.
For example, when you look at the staircase here, I can't tell. I'm just trying to tell if it's open or solid. So when I look at this, it's just like a single line, like an all open staircase. And then when I look at the elevation, it seems like it's all concrete. So it's kind of real confusing for me.
Yeah.
It's just kind of. It's just really confusing that I couldn't even figure out how to relate the plan to the elevation, for me to comment anything. That's really one of my big problem on that. So that's why I stopped trying to understand the drawings. It's just nothing collated between the plan, the elevation, and the renderings. Yeah, so that's one thing.
Okay, go ahead, keep going, Chip.
The second thing is I like to see the previous design compared to this one, because it seems like we have some specific comment about what we like, what we don't like, and without seeing the previous one, I can't tell the difference.
Staff will pull it out.
And like what the changes you made.
Thank you. So if you could spend just a minute and kind of walk us through what's changed. Obviously this.
I see. Okay.
So this has changed.
Yeah.
You're looking at this, you're looking more bird's eye that, you're looking at more human scale. A lot of these got opened up. There was a lot of steel kind of around the base of this, and this thing changed considerably. This trellis went away in lieu of a covering similar to that on the back. This got reduced considerably, as well as the frequency of the material. some of the windows and things moved around. Fencing and things changed. A lot of the metal skin went away in lieu of other material like plaster.
No, this helps.
Sure. And the color, obviously. And we added the tree.
Other questions, Tip?
That's it for now.
Tiffany, you had one more.
Just a quick one.
Want to go to the other side?
Is this a different plane than this?
That's just a
Okay.
draft.
All right, never mind then.
This is because there's a little enclosure for the elevator room
Okay,
and the electrical.
so this
There's
is
a
out,
little low
okay.
piece that comes a little
Yeah,
bit
yeah,
forward.
I remember that on the plan. Okay.
Chair, can I make a comment?
Please, a question?
Question related to the comment. I find it, I just want to say it now because I think that for me to make any comment, no, I can't make any comment because I can't understand the building based on the drawings I'm seeing. So that's just my comment. You move ahead, and it may be the applicant come back and
Okay.
make sure everything collated.
Howard, questions for the applicant?
The same comments that Tip has. I have one additional comment, question comment. Is it appropriate? Can we slide over into?
Sure. Would you ask a question and move into comments?
Okay, well, my question will draw a comment. So, am I okay here?
Get back. Yeah.
All right. So my question is, you've gone to a great deal of trouble to use containers for architectural reasons, the modularity, possibly the skins, and so forth. But in fact, structurally and functionally, you're not using them as containers at all. You are removing their structural box-like qualities in order to have an open floor on 2 levels. So I question the appropriateness of using containers and calling this container project when actually you're not using them as containers stacked, turned which way. Well, wait a second. The reason for asking the question is if you want to use the materials, the skins, and the structure, for example, to create open space, just go ahead and use corrugated metal full height and moment resisting frame inside, and you get whatever you want. Because I think it's too busy with the container. You go through a lot of extra lines dealing with the seams, and dealing with the joints, and dealing with the various panels and different planes. It seems that the building would be, to make the building simpler, would achieve your artistic effect better of voids, solids, planes playing against one another, colors, things that fade from the eye, recede from the eye, things that come out in your eye. That's just the question goes back to the selection of the containers as your architectural building block, and that's actually what you're doing is something quite different. That's just
Go ahead and respond, Jeff.
Okay. So when we conceived of it, we've done a lot of stuff with containers over the years, studied them immensely, done architecture with them. I don't think that your comment about we're not even using them for any purpose, I don't think that's actually accurate. There's a lot of validity in the container and the strength of the container. Removing the internal wall and connecting 2 containers doesn't ruin the structural integrity of it. It actually doesn't. And from an architectural standpoint, we really enjoy using them and working with them. It's odd. We're in the OC zone here, which is ocean commercial related. It's supposed to be for shipping related, boat related, fish related, any kind of ocean commerce related. What better thing to imbibe that sense of OC zoning than an actual container that came across the ocean on a boat in our minds. So, in addition, one of the things that we're excited about is the length of time that it would take to build this, and that's really important to us. We've been in this process a long time with the clients. We like going down this module. The containers are relatively inexpensive when used in this fashion. They're also very easy to erect, and the way we've conceived it is that these get dropped, they get fabricated off-site, they get dropped on site within a few days. They're probably up and running, and then you're adding the other elements to it. So from that standpoint, we love the benefit of using them. We love them from an architectural standpoint, and I get that there may be comment or disagreement about it, but we find it to be beneficial both in terms of cost and time of construction, and the fact that we can use their structural integrity to its benefit. And we've done a lot with these things, so we know where we can push and pull. For example, taking an entire end of the container out and putting a piece of glass in there does not have any structural ramifications at all. But if I did this at a conventional framing, I'd have to do it with other means. So we've really studied these a lot. We understand how to mess with them, how to work with them, how to utilize them, and get the best benefit out of them.
Is there a question, Howard?
No, I will defer to your expertise in this particular field. I've used a lot of containers, and I do know that they have structural frames that are designed to absorb lateral loads and so forth, vertical and lateral loads. And however, it's mainly, my comment is really directed at the busyness of the appearance because of these modules, as opposed to the and then the question about going to the trouble of getting all this container and then taking out the full length of one wall to make it contiguous to the accessible to the adjoining spaces. That seems counterproductive, but it's your client, your project, and that's interior. I just think that it's a little busy on the outside.
Okay. Any other comments?
That's it.
Stephanie, comment?
I like the project in general. I have my only comments are that I don't think that the doors, operable door showing at the ends of the containers are appropriate. I think that they're too industrial and would like those to just be the corrugated metal in lieu of the door mechanisms being shown. If they can still be operable, just less industrial look. I think that there's some opportunities for more landscaping on your site plan adjacent to the building in the rear along here. And would like to see, I like the idea of the mural wall, but I think that there's way too much of it. And I think that this one could be used as a green screen wall or something like that in lieu of, it's just way too much plaster. If there's mural, it's going to be way too much mural. I think having one simple wall for that purpose would be more appropriate. And I think it would serve to soften the whole look. And I think that you should definitely come prepared to talk about the wood finish at the next meeting. I think that the wood warms up this project because it's a very dull gray now, and it could use some, the greening will help with that, but the wood also definitely helps. So how you finish that is going to be important, and I'm not sure I'm sold on your idea yet.
Chip.
But I won't be here for the next meeting.
Where are you going to be?
She's terming out.
On
Today's her
on
last
that
day.
note.
Chip.
Yeah, by seeing the last version, it definitely helped. It did help me quite a bit to see that you definitely did try to warm the building up, which I think is good. I just feel that it's definitely a complicated project, and I really want to make sure that when you come back next time, the drawing, the plans related to the elevations, and have them drawn accurately. Where you have concrete walls, show the concrete walls. Where you have openings, show the openings. I see big openings, and I assume those are doors, but I don't. Maybe I don't understand the drawing because I couldn't understand the drawing yet. Are you coming out your balcony in front, or you just open the doors? And I don't know. Anyway, maybe it's just a glass opening. So I have a lot of questions that I don't want to spend another hour trying to figure out your drawings. If you can help, that'd be helpful. Number two is that had to do with the comments we made last time about. I'm still a little concerned about the location in relation to State Street, and I see that you bring in a lot of pictures. I think it'd be better if you can really not only show the ugliest buildings in the block, give us an idea of the whole neighborhood from State Street over. I know
They
the
are
fact a lot
ugly buildings.
Huh?
They are ugly buildings.
Yeah, I mean, like for example, we are
Showed you.
we are just about a block from the train station, things like that, which I think in the neighborhood of this project, that would be helpful if we can see that. And but I think that hopefully next time when you come in with some good elevations, or maybe, I mean, things like this help me out quite a bit if you can do one in the back too, so you can see a little better and with the right color rendition. Because if I take, I mean, by seeing that, I think that might go in the right direction. But for now, I just can't make that call yet.
Thank you. I missed my chance to ask questions, so I'm going to ask a few for comments. Can you open a shipping container from the inside?
No, you can only open from
So
outside.
these
So you could,
doors wouldn't open unless you got a ladder out and open
that's
them
correct.
up. Okay.
You can open the ground.
Okay, gotcha. And the elevator you're using, is it likely that the overrun will be greater than the height of this?
No, we've been studying that. But we're looking at a couple different options, but we think we've got the height on that. That was a
Okay.
big concern of ours.
The elevator does go up to the roof.
Yes, it does.
Okay. And then when I'm approaching this building, where do I go to the front door? Is this the front door, or do I come in here? What's the front door of the building?
It depends on how you're approaching. If you're on bike, you're going to park here, and you're probably going to either walk in here and go up, or you're going to walk around the front and come in. If you park, you're going to come around this side and either come in here or
So
get
is one
to
of
this
these
side.
an entry door?
Yeah, there's an entry door here and here
Okay.
right now.
Okay, and those are two different tenants, presumably, or?
No,
We don't know, but
Okay.
it could be demising.
it could be,
Yeah.
but we don't know.
Okay. And is there any signage that will go on the outside?
Sure, yeah, there would be signage, but
Like a blade sign coming out of
we,
it?
we know that's every time we show it, then you guys say it's not our purview.
No, I know. I just would like to know how it affects, because there isn't a lot of good locations for signage
Yeah, I
without
think,
junking it up.
I think you have some on the parking lot.
Yeah.
We haven't studied a sign program on this, but there'll
Yeah.
definitely be opportunities.
Okay, great. So a few comments. I like a lot of what you've done since the last time that you were here. I'm just going to show this last one with the camera. I think this was a really good move, turning that into a kind of a plaster element. It really softens up the building and gives it a little more Santa Barbara context.
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot. There's one thing that may be a difference of opinion, but I think there was something that was lost between this version and that one. And then it's the kind of integration of this structure with the containers. The containers feel more kind of anchored and integrated with the rest of it. Maybe it's just some of these things turning the corner and this coming all the way down. Here it feels a bit as if they're kind of two shipping containers on the road and they've stopped off at a service station and there's not a connection to the building. And I really like this kind of tube notion, but it might be something to be said by a little more integration and maybe even bringing those back down and kind of anchoring these two elements together more might feel and transform the shipping containers a bit more. I think with the shipping containers, the biggest task is transforming them from what they are into what they're not and still maintaining some of that. I mean, you could argue, well, I just want to put a shipping container, and that's the least transformation, and that's the most noble thing to do.
On the roof. We didn't
No,
put a boat on
no boat on the roof. I'm saying that the notion that the superstructure that surrounds the shipping container should be more integrated visually with the container. They're more interesting when you don't perceive the shipping container as a whole and you perceive pieces of them. I think a shipping container is appropriate for the funk zone. The funk zone is funky, and there's a lot of people that want to keep it that way.
So do we.
So I don't have a problem with the containers. I think it's all how you dress them up and how you slice and dice them. So I think in general the improvements are good. I like the little surprise of blue up here. The colors are super important on this project. And I'm not necessarily sold. This is like a welded wire mesh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll have to see details on that.
Well, the idea is that it'd be planted and just kind of turn into a green panel in between, right?
Okay, gotcha.
The base of it's sitting in a planter, so
Okay.
Eventually it would just go away. It'd be green.
Okay. So with some fine-tuning, I can support this project. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I don't know if the rest of the board members agree with what I said about my comments. So I'll make a motion, see if anyone agrees.
And I don't know when the next hearing is,
I think the 4th.
but I'm pretty sure that's
The 4th?
Probably won't make it on that.
wouldn't make it on that. So
Well,
This is comments only, by the way.
yeah, but we're in the
Indefinite,
dark.
okay, yeah,
we're in dark
indefinite
process,
continuance
Right. We got to go
to-
to whatever.
to the full board with the following comments. In general, the board supports the shipping container use of for this project. However, the board would ask that the applicants bring in more detailed plans that reflect accurately the different materials and of the structure. Differentiate between the plaster, wood, concrete, and steel. One board member, I think, feels that the doors on the, is this the south facade,
Yeah, I know.
should not be reflect the mechanisms of the operable doors, but more corrugation, matching the other sides of the shipping container. The landscaping should be improved on the valet side, the north elevation of the building adjacent to the structure, to provide some opportunities for landscaping. Architect to study adding a green wall to the Helena side elevation adjacent to the mural wall. And architect to bring in colors and materials because they're an important part of this project in this neighborhood. And that's it.
Anyone like a second and add anything?
Yeah, I'd like to make a second to add a couple of things. About the first comment, I would like to reserve my decision until I see probably one board member or two, until I have a concern about the location of the building near State Street, but with hopefully with better drawings. I can better understand it then.
So that was continued from the last.
We continue that from the last.
So you just want to continue that one item?
Yeah, I want to continue that item from the last meeting.
That says half, though. Is that, are we on
That's one board member feels maybe more feel that way.
To my eye, it's far enough away from State Street. I don't see it as an issue. I don't
For
know.
me too. Howard?
I think it'll work. The big intersection of Yanonali and State has a lot of Hispanic-type historic buildings. There is a huge building going up now on the triangle there between the tracks, which I don't know what it's going to look like, but it's, it might be.
You talking about the children's museum?
Entrada?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, the
Entrada?
hostel or whatever it is.
Oh.
That's all the landmark district.
Yeah.
Right, that's a
what
different district.
Everything will be landmark along that strip.
That is a contemporary scale and concept there. I think it'll be fine. I just have my reservations about I like container architecture,
Me too. Yeah.
but I think that this thing artistically is going to be all lies in the details. So I would amend your comment to say also bring in conceptual details about how you're handling the butting together of skins and structure and so forth. That can make a difference, detailing.
That's
I
good.
think it's a final thing, that final approval thing.
I think those colors, which are warm grays and warm creams or whatever, and I understand what you're doing with the wood. I think that'll be a good thing. Just a film of white stain on it, translucent stain.
So, Howard, are you technically want to add anything to the comments?
Well, I think I added about the detailing,
Okay.
and I'm reserving, my
Judgment until you see the details.
judgment until I see it.
As we all are. Okay. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you guys for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving along.
You too. So we keep the color? Okay, we're running a few minutes behind. Apologies. Let's quickly move on to the next item on the agenda, which is 109 West Ortega Street. Do we have the applicant here?
Yeah.
Coming along.
Robert wanted to go.
Oops.
Hi.
Robert.
Hey.
Happy holidays.
You too. Welcome, everyone.
Have a color set.
Go for it. I like color. Yep. So if you guys wouldn't mind stating your names for the record, please.
Rachel Kizzle.
Okay.
Robert Adams, landscape architect.
Eva Turnchok, agent.
Great, thank you. So go ahead with your presentation, please. We've got 15 minutes for this item, so try and keep it brief, please.
Yeah, sure.
Can we do the
Yeah.
development plan stuff first? And then
Start
you'll
off.
go- Okay, so this is an existing single-family home, 1,669 square feet. Converting it into a short-term vacation rental. No interior changes, no exterior changes. Oh, I'm sorry.
close to that.
Yep,
Not
no
super close, but-
no interior changes to the structure. This is an existing garage that we're going to remove. This is existing concrete and existing gravel over concrete. All of that is going away. It's all going to be permeable pavers and all of this. And we have it might be easier to see the existing, the proposed, yeah. So this is all the permeable paving. This is the 2 parking spaces. We're going to add a jacuzzi and a gate. And then just really spruce up the landscaping, all with drought tolerant and native plants, and Robert can talk about that in more detail. We're adding a fence along this side that we're going to plant with
Distictus.
yeah, thank you.
Trumpet vine.
Okay. So this is here for you because the conversion requires a development plan.
Okay.
And then we need it's not Measure E, but the commercial square footage allocation, which apparently you guys do for these. And I'll let Robert go into more detail on the landscape plans.
Okay, so
One of the most important aspects of this plan is to really increase impermeability. It's basically impermeable. We're really not touching the existing house at all. We are actually just modifying the walkway to be permeable here. It has an inadequate landing and steps. It's just steps right up into the foyer. So we want a few steps into the foyer here. This is all going from concrete, impermeable concrete and gravel to permeable paving, and cars come in and park here. We remove this building. And actually, the thing I wanted to mention is we are reducing impermeable areas by close to 2,000 square feet, 1,982 square feet. This is mulch. Right here in this property is an existing walkway that's protected by an easement, as well as this corner area with the tree. That all remains per a recent easement agreement. So none of that changes. There's an existing gate coming through here now for access. And basically we're taking this parkway, we're going to really improve that with some low succulents. And strip irrigated I think it's about 84% low water using plants. And we're going to add some elements, a low gate, swing gate right here that looks like this, a mailbox right out here. The other element is just a very modest arbor that fits in with the sort of discussion of hedges, screens, and walls. It's 18 square feet total, only 8 feet height. That detailing is going to match this existing wood fence. We just pretty much these are the existing conditions of the house. And again, the big thing is we're going to remove the back building. Looking at this upside down, where are we? Oh, this kind of building right here to make room for parking. Anyway, so we have a full set of plans, including gutters that will be tied into bioswales to help the stormwater situation. We're also just adding a screen fence just in the back areas, which is really corrugated metal. This is the ground. It's just 6 feet high. We want a little bit of privacy. We've met with the neighbors. They're okay where we want to do this privacy part of the fence. And the other fencing in front is just going to remain. We're just going to plant it with a lot more vines, which is the trumpet vine. These are different details of permeable paving, how the gutter connects to the bioswales. Here's the landing detail. We'll have handrails on both sides. It's really going to be just like a Cherokee buff flagstone surface treatment, but just much better to get into the front. This is the irrigation plan. This is just a modest, just a spot. It's not built into the ground. It stands up about 3 feet, and we're building a couple steps to get up into it and a little deck to put a towel on. We're also taking the deck that was out here, and we're moving it much closer in to the house. So basically it's a landing now that you can walk off this area, walk down this area, and this is where parking is.
Great.
This
If you
is
could
the
wind it
driveway.
down, please.
What's that?
If you could wind it down, please.
Okay, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just details. Yeah.
Where's the planting plan again?
I'm sorry, what?
Planting. Go back to the planting plan.
Yes.
Okay. Does that conclude your presentation?
Yes, pretty much.
Thank you so much. Let's open it up to public comment. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address the board? No one? We'll close public comment and go to questions from the board members. Who'd like to start?
Is it,
Chip?
just a quick question, is it Airbnb rental? What do you mean by short-term rental?
No,
Oh, it's just,
it's nothing right now. It's not like it has
you are
been.
converting into,
We're converting it to a short-term rental. I don't know that they've decided who's going to handle. Rachel, do you
I see,
know?
but it's short-term means.
Yeah,
turning over.
less than 30 days. Yes.
Okay. Any other questions, Chip?
And you're removing the garage and you're putting the carport.
No carport.
No carport.
No carport, it's just
Two uncovered
It's
parking spaces.
Yeah, the garage is not, it's like a one-car garage workshop thing that just was not really well suited to parking.
And my question is, do you need a garage in this zoning requirements, or you don't need it?
No, no covered parking requirement.
No cover parking requirement, just
Right.
off street.
Off-street, correct.
Off street.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie, questions for the applicant?
No questions, I just have comments.
Okay. Howard, questions for the applicant?
Does this work with the turning radiuses to get in, and when the cars are parked, can this guy come in and get in there okay? A little tight.
Yeah, it's a little tight, but we pulled the deck back a little bit, so that makes it fine. We have a little backup space in the hammerhead right here. Howard.
Yeah, this,
Transportation seen this?
And then
transportation
I see
has
that.
seen it and
Okay.
approved
I'm
it.
just
It
thinking
does
that, you know,
require a
someone-
minor modification, but they're comfortable with it.
Okay.
Who's comfortable?
Transportation.
Okay.
They reviewed
If they're
it.
comfortable, hey.
We reviewed this very early with them, this schematic.
Any other questions, Howard?
So could you describe the fence on this side, back side, and along this walkway here?
Well, right here, yeah, very easily. Right here is just a wood dog-eared fence, Howard. No changes
Existing.
to that. It's existing.
What is dog-eared?
Just means that that little thing like this. Just the angle cut
Boards.
boards,
Yeah,
just
just
like
slats,
that. No
yeah.
cap,
Okay, yeah.
just like that. That's existing.
And which side of the rails and which side of the boards?
The rails are on our side,
Okay.
on the inside, facing the
So
interior.
the frame is on the walkway side.
Nope, the frame's on our side.
Oh, the framing is on your
We
side.
see the framing, and it's been
Okay.
there.
Okay.
It was that condition when the owners bought it.
And this
This is a low chain link fence with some vines on the neighbor's property, but the vines aren't enough, so we're really going to add to those vine pockets, so that's more full with vines. And about here, the neighbor, right here, midpoint, the neighbor has put this kind of weird cloth just for better screening, and so we thought we would use wood and the corrugated steel for more privacy.
So you've got chain link to what point here?
Right here.
So it says here, and then it says wood steel.
Yeah, I'm sorry, wood steel starts here and goes back here
Okay,
for
so
privacy.
Fence A, fence B.
Correct.
Fence C.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Questions?
No more questions?
No more questions.
Where does the corrugated wood siding go? Is that around the hot tub?
No, just right here where this fence starts, boom, this, pretty much this length.
Okay.
Right here, and that is, that's this look, right here.
Okay.
We're gonna frame it in wood, and then the vertical steel.
And what's the finish on that going to be?
Of the wood?
Of the corrugation?
Just a natural steel, soft gray,
Okay.
non-reflective.
Okay. All right, that's my only question. Comments? Who'd like to start? Chip?
It's good to go.
Anyone
Like
else
it.
feel differently?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I have one more question. What is the material of this gate?
Just wood, and it's going to be painted to match the existing front 42-inch fence
And this
in
is
front.
6 feet?
Nope, 5 feet.
5
A
feet?
little bit lower.
And this opens, how does it open?
It opens, swings in.
Oh, this one here, okay.
Yeah, swings right in.
Painted wood,
Painted wood, painted white wood, yes.
existing to remain, or no, proposed?
No, that's proposed.
Okay.
Comments?
So the comment is, everything is good to go except the fences. The fences are a hodgepodge. They need to be unified, and they need to be made synthetic to this house with this kind of garden architecture. Chain link, corrugated iron, what did you call them, dog-eared, whatever it is? I'm sorry, it's just not cool, not cute, not charming.
This is
I mean, I can't say
But
that
those
two
are,
words.
That's
the
existing.
chain link and the wood are existing. This,
Yeah,
this-
I know, but you're
Oh, okay.
asking for a review.
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean-
No, the comments is appreciated.
I just wanted to make sure you understood that.
Yeah, I
We weren't-
understand.
We're
Anything
not
else,
actually
Heather?
I just
proposing
want to
the
be
three.
clear on what's happening. Yeah. So that's my comment.
Thank you. Stephanie, comments?
I somewhat agree with Howard in that the corrugated metal is not really preferable to something more in keeping with the gate and the pickets on the front would be preferable. I assume these are vine pockets.
Those are vine pockets, yeah.
Okay. And having that landscape, that chain link with the trumpet vine is going to be really nice, and it's going to fill in beautifully. And I think that that is going to be a welcome green screen relief from all of this paving. That being said, I think that there are some more areas where you could bump up the landscaping. I don't understand why you even have these minuscule areas of mulch and these tiny little areas of planting.
That I'll tell you why. Because this existing situation gets so narrow.
I understand, Robert,
yeah.
and if I may
Go ahead.
finish, I think that I know that there's a gate here and that there's a building here, and you can't really see down this or past a certain point. But if the landscaping were beefed up from about this point forward in this corner, you wouldn't be able to see any of that behind it. And I'm fine with the mulch back there, but this little piece of mulch and this, mulch area should just be made into more landscape.
Just to clarify, I get your point, but just to clarify, the reason I added that just for safety circulation around, but we could explore that.
I remember, as I used to work in this building years ago, and there was big, giant trees, and this whole front yard was really shady, and it would be nice to have, a large tree introduced to that front yard again. But I think that there is excessive, paving areas. I see that their circulation is necessary from the driveway here, but it just seems excessively to like a lot of unnecessary unlandscaped areas that I think it's a very small front yard, and it's not going to be that much more to landscape it other than buying all these pavers, and so I don't think it's a huge ask for more green in front of that. It sits very close to the street, and it's a very charming house. It's just really kind of plain, and would benefit from more planting.
Any other comments?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Quick question. Will the trumpet vines adhere to the corrugated metal?
No.
Well, the way we were planning on it is to get a wire between the posts and get that to be the medium on which those vines attach itself and climb.
Okay. I have no new comments, but I think I agree with Stephanie's comments about this and some of Howard's comments about the gates being a bit of chaotic. Would someone like to make a motion?
Where are we on this?
This is a concept review.
Yeah, so action can be taken if you feel that there's sufficient information. This project requires development plan approval findings and a parking design waiver. I put a memo that should be read if action is going to be taken.
I would be willing to make a motion, but it would not be PDA. It would be the applicant to return with to address the comments were made about the fencing and the planting in the front yard. Motion to continue the project indefinitely, or 2 weeks, or whatever it is.
My feeling is that this could probably be handled on consent. What's your thought on that? I know you're not going to be here, Stephanie, but
Yeah, I'm not going to be handling consent, but at least our landscape architect will be
yeah.
present.
Is there enough here that you think, or little enough that could be handled by consent? You've been doing the consent for...
Yeah.
Okay. Are you okay with that, Howard?
Yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion for design. This is almost a final. You've got everything you need for final here, basically, don't you?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For final approval with the following comments on consent. Provide additional landscaping to replace the mulch in the front yard setback. And study the character of the gate along the south property line along the driveway.
The gate or the fence?
The
pardon.
fence.
Yeah, the fence.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's as far as I'll go with it. If someone wants to amend that.
Yeah, I'll second that, and I will just be very specific, Kathleen, and say that additional landscaping from the electric meter forward, where it shows electric meter
Yeah,
there on the
right
plan,
there.
forward to the front yard. Additional landscaping added to the front yard from the electrical meter forward.
There's a gate there.
So that
Can we say with the understanding that there needs to be a pedestrian access, obviously, to get
but
to
you-
there?
you-
Yeah. No, I just want to make sure it's not, yeah.
I just want, because Courtney's not here.
Ground cover.
and she's-
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking. Let's get some
Yeah, something,
green ground cover and maybe explore.
You can have lots of walkable, grasses that.
No, you're
that
right.
are-
You're
that
right.
are
But
drought tolerant.
But I'm listening to your comments, and maybe we can echo this olive right here and pull one over here for a little bit more screening, and then do something, like a ground cover that you can walk on, like a carex,
Yeah.
like some of the carex meadow grasses.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, we'll leave you to propose something.
Right.
And then it'll get
Just
reviewed.
thinking out loud.
Okay.
So there's a gate on the side. Would you take those grasses up to the gate?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And no mulch in the front yard.
Hmm?
And no mulch in the front yard.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So who would like to second that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay.
I mean, technically, the chair doesn't make
Well,
motions.
when you made a motion, you
I
voted mine, right?
broke that rule, right? Fair and square.
Okay, so just to clarify, so it's project design and final approval.
Correct.
Okay.
Back on consent.
And then we're supposed to read this into the minutes.
I thought final on consent. It's
Final
not,
on consent, pardon me.
It's
Yeah.
not final approval.
Yeah. The proposed development complies with all provisions of SBMC Title 28, and the proposed development is consistent with the principles of sound community planning, and the proposed development will not have a significant adverse impact on the community's aesthetics or character, in that the size, bulk, or scale of the development will be compatible with the neighborhood based on the project compatibility analysis criteria found in section 22.22.145. And the proposed development is consistent with the policies of the City of Santa Barbara Traffic Management Strategy as approved by City Resolution number 13010, dated as of March 12, 2013, as expressed in the allocation of allowances specified in SBMC 28.85050. Okay. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Excellent.
Sorry,
Thank you.
one more clarification. You're okay, because it also needed a parking design waiver that,
We didn't discuss it. I'm okay with it. Are others
What's
okay?
a parking design waiver?
There was a slight modification.
Yeah, this is like, I don't remember, maybe like 6 inches or something too short for this backup, but that's the part we were saying, transportation looked at it and they ran it through their little guide and they were fine with it, so,
Subject to transportation approval.
perfect.
Great. I think that's it. Thank you, guys.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do you need these color drawings?
We'll take the color.
Yeah.
Okay.
Colors, we like colors.
Okay. Do we have our next applicant? Oh, and there is a 10-day appeal period on this project for anyone wishing to appeal.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays, Robin. Nancy.
It's every week.
Oh, it's every week.
Yeah.
ABRs every week?
No,
Every
consent.
consent.
Oh,
Consent.
it's every week.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's at 1.
So
and it's every-
potentially on the 4th? Yeah.
You want,
Most likely on the 4th. Yeah.
you want some of these?
But you need to get agendized.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you want any other plans, Robert?
What's that?
Do you want another set?
Oh,
It's going to get tossed if we don't.
okay, because it's going to change really quick.
Okay. We're missing an applicant.
Horizon? No, she's here.
Oh,
So this, we're getting dangerously close to my departure time here. I have to leave at 5:30.
Okay, well, it's quick.
we'll power through
We
this,
can
Howard.
get through this.
This,
So,
and the last item's
This
canceled.
is the last one.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have quorum for the last
Welcome.
item.
That's right.
Okay.
Step down.
You want to state your name for the record, please?
Hi, I'm Karina Arvizu from Core Development Services representing Verizon Wireless.
Welcome. Want to walk us through? Have we seen this before?
You have presented it last time. There was
Oh, Laguna and Valerio.
yeah, and there was a 6-foot cabinet that you asked if we could
Underground.
underground. We did not underground it.
Can we
Actually,
see the
got
photographs, please?
Yeah.
the photo sims were actually not revised.
Let's see just so we can get a
Just
sense of
the
Yeah,
location.
well,
neighborhood
so you can
pictures,
see.
yeah.
Yeah.
Existing.
So rather than have the big 6-foot cabinet, we were able to mount the equipment here.
Imagine that.
And
Yeah, actually,
Is there more stuff up here than previous?
no, this is the same exact. So what was added is here.
Okay.
And just so you know, there's still a pending item, whether the fiber is going to be run at grade or on the pole. So either this little box will be gone or this box will be gone.
Okay.
We put both in this case, just so you can
How come-
review and know.
how come I don't have your same drawing as you?
You're looking at it?
Yeah.
No, there's no box over here.
Oh, it's over here. That's over there. Oh, you don't have it over here? You don't,
I don't have,
this
you on 18?
on your hand?
oh, this one here. Okay,
Yes,
fine.
there it
This
is.
is, all right, very
You
good.
got
Yeah,
it?
that's the meter pedestal.
So
All right.
this, what is this?
This is the power meter pedestal. So what we had discussed before was a big 6-foot tall cabinet.
Is that adjacent to the pole?
It was
Where is it now?
6 foot
the
away.
big 6-foot cabinet. It's gone.
Yeah, but where is this? on
Oh
the
yeah,
site?
it's adjacent. It's adjacent to the pole. This is power right here.
That's a few feet away. This is the pole.
Yeah,
The vault.
there has to be a 12-foot separation. It's called a fall zone. So whoever climbs the pole
Doesn't get skewered.
doesn't get
Yeah. And this is a new pole?
No, it's an existing.
Okay. And what's on that pole now? Power?
It's existing. Telco and cable TV.
Okay.
All right, so there's a,
And this is the cantenna?
Yeah, this is a cantenna and the.
this
repeater
is
units.
on the pole.
This is on the pole, yeah. So that was originally,
That's on the
big-
pole, and then this, is that
this is a pole vault. This is this.
down underground?
Yeah, that's where all the
And what is this?
cables would be.
It says front.
So right now there's, we're walking the fiber right now, which means how we're getting the site connected. So it's either gonna come aerially or it's gonna come from underground. We don't know yet. So worst case scenario, we put both. So either this one's gonna come off the pole or this is gonna come off the ground, pending
it's that little piece
what's available
versus
out
that.
there.
What is this height, and what is,
This is 24 inches,
24 by 21 by
48.
8.
48 tall. That's a standard meter pedestal for power.
this is 48 inches
Yeah.
tall?
And it's,
And it sits over here,
yeah.
which is on the,
And that one's
on the
actually,
plan,
yeah.
that's 48 inches tall.
Yeah.
This
That's
is the
it.
same thing we saw last time.
Yeah, except for last time there was another cabinet, a big 4-foot by 6-foot cabinet right next to it.
Do we have the last one?
And
So-
this is underground? This is
That's
something.
on the, this is a
Yeah,
vault.
that's the
Flush.
pull
That's
box.
a vault.
Yeah, that's
It's this one
Flush.
right here,
pull box.
Oh, it's 18
Yeah,
inches.
that one's flush. That one's doesn't go above ground.
It's right here, like this.
It does not go underground.
It goes underground. It's flush. It doesn't go
It
above
has a
ground.
lid.
Yeah. It's a pull box.
Ground. Flush with finish grade. Okay, I'm just trying to understand.
Anything else you want to add to your presentation? Nope. Okay. Let's do formal questions.
Oh,
Chip, you have questions?
I don't know if you have the previous one.
We do, but our planner is taken off.
where the photograph?
And the photosims, the previous photosims.
We can grab the photo center in just a sec.
28 by 17 by 48.
Yeah, those are the meter pedestals, which I believe are exempt from
Yeah, it's just,
undergrounding.
17 by 48.
Exempt from undergrounding.
Yeah.
What,
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
just any photographs showing what it looks like.
And those are the previous ones. I don't have
thank
revised
you,
ones.
Kathy.
So
Pull this
originally,
in for the camera.
there was 2 cabinets.
So this one goes away and this one stays.
The little one, yeah, the little one stays and the big one goes away.
This one stays.
Yeah.
And,
Meter pedestal and the big one.
I'm curious about this exempt from undergrounding. Is that a state rule? Where's that coming from?
Yeah, I believe it is. Not a state rule. It's a power company. Yeah. So the utility companies need to provide power to the site, and they don't have a form of undergrounding that power. So this is functions like.
Like a transformer?
No, it's just like your power that you have your meter
Okay.
at home. That kind of goes round and round, determines how much power you're using. So they actually don't have a design that you can underground without
Is that a person
being
walking?
hazardous.
Is that a size of a person?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. There's that person walking.
It looks a lot taller than 4 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't look very
Maybe
skilled.
that's just a very small person.
that's a child.
See, there's a
Adolescent.
person in the photograph here.
Older
And his
person.
head kind of,
Or the photosim's a little off.
Mm,
And the photosim
that
looks
could be
as
it.
tall as that hedge, and the hedge is taller than 4 feet. Correct me if I remember wrong, but I thought we'd seen a project where they did the power underground. We looked at a project. You never seen that?
well, I don't know, it might have been a different company or something. I don't keep track of which
Yeah.
company proposes
So
what.
these boxes are gone.
One
One.
of them is.
One box.
The smaller one stays.
Yeah, the
Can you get rid of the truck too?
the previous box was, I believe it was 72 inches tall.
Okay. Any other questions from anyone?
I have one question. Looks like that this side needs to be accessible.
Yeah.
Is that
That's the-
interchangeable, or could you flip that? Could it be on the sidewalk side?
Yeah, typically they have them so that the person that's accessing it is standing against traffic, not with their back towards traffic.
Would it be possible to move it down the street and not on the corner? It's just very much in the forefront visually on the corner. If it were a pull mid-block, I think that might be more.
I mean, we can ask power. We don't actually determine where these go. We have to do what are called power walks with the power company. They have their own guy that comes out and says, this is where we can put it. It all depends on where they're bringing the power from.
I think if it were mid-block, maybe between 2 big trees, that would help mitigate quite a bit.
It looks like there's a little bush or something just beyond this sign.
Yeah,
Could be further.
or provide some landscaping,
Yeah.
perhaps.
Yeah.
I think this isn't the top. It's not diminutive. It's not very visually appealing. If there a way to locate that with some background of a tree or something of that nature might mitigate it to some extent?
Talking about the antenna?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, trees usually affect the propagation.
I'm aware of that, but maybe I feel there may be a better location than this particular one.
Well, the technology is small cell, so propagation is between 200 and 500
What about
feet.
this pole?
So
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
Mr. Chair, can we talk? Or?
Please, go ahead.
All right. So I am less troubled by what's in the air, because I think it's up there, and it's, it is what it is. I'm more troubled by what's on the ground. And I think it is all happening, at the corner and close to the pole, and there's pedestrians walking by, and these boxes are like 19 inches wide, 11 inches deep. They're proud of the pole. That thing's 4 feet high. It's in your eye. It's in your face. And so the applicant has moved it because we didn't like the 6-foot pedestal on the ground, and I kind of feel the same way about the 4-foot pedestal. And I think if we can remote these things from the corner so that the pole is just a pole and all the power and all this other industrial stuff is remoted and landscaped, either if we can't put it underground, which would be my first choice, then cluster it somewhere, put it in the planter. There's a median, or what do you call it, planter strip there for that purpose, and landscape it, but get it away from the corner. It's just a lot of busyness happening at that pole. That's my thought.
Is that a bus stop?
It's stop sign.
Okay.
And you've studied this location?
yes.
I think we should look at that location again.
It doesn't work. Why?
I don't recall. I don't recall this particular intersection. I can find out, but
You thinking about moving it down to the next pole?
Potentially.
Stephanie?
I mean, one advantage of this site is that it's this person's side yard, so it's not right in front of their house.
Yeah.
It looks like there's some other larger trees around this one, though. And it's just not off this prominent landscape intersection.
yeah, and
I would vote for that.
unfortunately, I'm not an engineer, but we do look at all of the existing utility poles and choose the best possible location, not only based on propagation but on aesthetics, obviously. And the engineer usually determines which poles are usable based on what's on it and clearances that we have to keep and all
Maybe
of that
that's
stuff.
like the second
So-
best possible location.
I mean, I can ask.
Yeah.
Well, I would look for. I would expect that when you return, why this one isn't appropriate. But also on the next visit, more information about this planter and what's along here. And
It's
in
Grass
the
Parkway, yeah.
in the parkway area, what's planted there, what could aid in further screening this. And if there's a better location, if someone's
Just away from
parking,
the corner.
if someone's parking here and they can't get out of their car because there's this big cabinet there, that's not going to work either. So all those things we are concerned with. So if there's a curb cut into this driveway or something like that, I don't know. But if someone's
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain distance that they allow these meters to be from the pole. So
okay,
without knowing
all right,
what's down the street, as far
Okay.
as like if there's a driveway and then we have to look at on the other side of the driveway and then there's a lane side issue
okay.
and that kind of thing. I mean,
But it looks like there could be a plant like right behind there that could help screen it.
Chip, do you have any comments?
Yes. Are you done?
Yeah.
I think this is my my opinion. I really think that we should stop harassing Verizon. I think when I look at the picture here, there's so many things that bother the heck out of me: the pole, the line, the powers, and everything else. And here we're picking at the little box painted green on the sidewalk. This is something that, what we're doing, improving the cell phone service, and if not like we're putting a 50-foot pole, middle of the road and things like that. And I just feel that it's just my opinion that we're wasting so much time with these issues that at the end of the day, it's just irrelevant in my opinion. So I like the way it is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll sum up my comments. I think it does matter where it is, and I'd like to see some other areas proposed and documented so that we can have some options to look at. And I don't think this is an ideal location for it. So I'd like to see you come back possibly with this pole. Maybe it's up the street a little bit. And it's a concern, and it needs to go in the best possible location. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll second that.
It's not a...
What did you say?
Study, provide documentation of possible other poles.
As I said, I'll second that.
Okay. So all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. That concludes
Do you want one of
the
these?
December 21st, 2015 meeting of the ADR. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
In sin and error pining, till he appeared, and the soul felt its worth. A thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices, for yonder makes a new and glorious morn. Fall on your knees. Oh, hear the angel voices. Oh, night divine. Oh, night when Christ was born. Oh, night divine. Oh, night divine. Chains shall he break, for the slave is our brother, and in his name all oppression shall cease. Sweet hymns of joy in grateful chorus raise we, let all within us praise his holy name. Christ O night divine. Noel, Noel, O night divine. Noel, Noel. Oh night divine. And I want to. Sleigh bells ring, are you listening? In the lane, snow is glistening, a beautiful sight. We're happy tonight, we're walking in a winter wonderland. And gone away is the bluebird, but here to stay, stay, stay is a new bird. He sings a love song as we go along. We're walking in a winter wonderland. In the meadow we can build a snowman and pretend that he is Parson Brown. He'll say, are you married? We'll say no, man, but you can do the job when you're in town. And later on we'll conspire as we dream by the fire, babe. We'll face unafraid all the plans that we made. We're walking in a winter wonderland. And later on we'll conspire as we dream by the fire, babe. We'll face unafraid all the plans that we made. We're walking in a winter wonderland. We'll face unafraid all the plans that we made. We're walking in a winter wonderland. We'll face unafraid all the plans that we made. We're walking in a winter wonderland. Winter wonderland. Deck the halls with boughs of holly. Fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly. Fa la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel. Fa la 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 la. Troll the ancient Yuletide carol. Fa la 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 la. See the blazing Yule before us. Fa la 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 la. Strike the harp and join the chorus. Fa la 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 la. Follow me in merry measure. Fa la 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 la. While I tell of Yuletide treasure. Fa la 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 la. As the way the old year passes, fa la 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 la
rocking around the Christmas tree at the Christmas party hop. Mistletoe hung where you can't see, every couple tries to stop. Rocking around the Christmas tree, let the Christmas spirit ring. Later we'll have some pumpkin pie and we'll do some caroling. You will have a sentimental feeling when you hear voices singing, let's be jolly, deck the halls with boughs of holly. Rocking around the Christmas tree, have a happy holiday. Everyone dancing merrily in the new old-fashioned way. You will get a sentimental feeling when you hear voices singing, let's be jolly, deck the halls with boughs of holly. Rocking around the Christmas tree, have a happy holiday. Everyone dancing merrily in the new old-fashioned way.
Santa Claus. You gotta believe me. You just gotta believe me. Come on, fellas, believe me. You just gotta believe me.
Hey kids, you know Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen, Comet and Cupid and Donner and Blitzen, but do you recall the most famous reindeer of all?
Yeah! Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer
Had a very shiny nose.
And if you ever saw it,
You would even say it glows.
all of the other reindeer,
Used to laugh and call him names.
they never let poor Rudolph join in any reindeer race.
Then one foggy Christmas Eve, Santa came to say, Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight? Then how the reindeer loved him as they shouted out with glee, Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, you'll go down in history. Then one foggy Christmas Eve, Santa came to say, Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight? Then how the reindeer loved him as they shouted out with glee, Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, you'll go down in history.
Last Christmas, I gave you my heart, but the very next day, you gave it away. This year, to save me from tears, I'll give it to someone special. Once bitten and twice shy, I keep my distance, but you still catch my eye. Tell me, baby, do you recognize me? Well, it's been a year, it doesn't surprise me. Merry Christmas, I wrapped it up and sent it with a note saying I love you, I meant it. Now I know what a fool I've been, but if you kiss me now, I know you fool me again. Last Christmas, I gave you my heart,
This production was made possible by the generous support of David Jacoby through the Jacoby Family Trust in memory of Janine V. Jacoby and Daniel R. Jacoby. And Santa Barbara Beautiful. Additional funding support provided through the City Redevelopment Agency.
Art is the infrastructure of the spirit. And if you're going to really have a city which is vibrant, you have to care about the infrastructure of the spirit as much as you do about the infrastructure of cement.
Unlike some very urban cities, it has a beauty, a natural beauty of its own. But these accents and details that you see throughout the city enhance your appreciation of it and make it unique.
Public art, particularly in Santa Barbara, creates a dialogue and discourse on the street particularly that gives you a juxtaposition between the expected, which is the Spanish colonial architecture, and the pieces that are sometimes totally away from that idiom of work, and so that it's a surprise.
Art is an expression of who we are, where we are, why we're doing the things we do, and it's just great exposure to where we're at in this time, this age.
You stroll along Cabrillo Boulevard. You hear the waves crashing on the shore. You feel the grass under your feet. You breathe in and taste the salty sea air. And then you see a piece of art nestled into the surroundings. Or maybe you don't even notice it. But it's there. A bold rainbow echoing the colors of the sky overhead and framing Santa Barbara's mountains. Maybe it makes you laugh. Maybe it upsets you. Or maybe it makes you think. Either way, it stirs something new. Santa Barbara is unique in its balance of the beauty of its natural environment and the beauty of its built environment. Art and architecture have been essential components in the history of our city since the beginning. In addition to the many art galleries and museums, you'll find that there are many treasures of public art waiting to be discovered, whether it's tucked into a hidden paseo or on the bustling sidewalks of State Street. In Santa Barbara, art and architecture work hand in hand to create an experience that blends history with modern culture and contemporary art with time-honored tradition.
As someone once described it, this is a city that's basking in history and bathed in whimsy. So no matter where you go around a corner here or there, you see little bits of history of Santa Barbara in it, and it tells our story.
History has shown us that where there are human beings, there is also going to be an artistic representation of that time and place. The first nation of people here, the Chumash, integrated into their daily lives body painting, basketry, and cave paintings.
We find all over the territory where people spoke Chumash languages, we find cave paintings, and some of these are really quite spectacular. Some of them are in hidden, out-of-the-way places. We suspect that those sites were sacred sites, and so the paintings have something to do with ceremonies and rituals that were conducted there. But other sites where you find the paintings are obviously work areas where people were grinding acorns and living, and the paintings are just right out in the open. So those were more examples of public art in Chumash culture.
In the late 1800s, wealthy Americans started to move to Santa Barbara from the East Coast, and along with their heavy suitcases, they brought a deep-rooted appreciation for the arts. Artists began to follow, as they were also entranced by Santa Barbara's picturesque scenery and mild climate that allows for year-round outdoor painting. In 1875, Henry Chapman Ford became Santa Barbara's first professional painter, and along with Alexander Harmer, contributed to the revival of the art and architecture of California's past. By 1920, a new sense of Santa Barbara's civic identity was brewing, heavily influenced by the historic preservationist movement that had swept Southern California. As Santa Barbara's population grew past 20,000, so did a desire to nostalgically embrace the past. An effort began to give the city its own architectural appearance. After the 1925 earthquake, many buildings in Santa Barbara were reduced to rubble. Led by activists like Pearl Chase, a community movement rallied to encourage that the city be rebuilt in the Spanish colonial revival style. In addition, public art began to be incorporated into the new buildings as they were reconstructed. George Washington Smith was a successful painter and architect who became the grandfather of Santa Barbara's Spanish colonial architectural style.
Santa Barbara has had, since the 20s in particular, had this whole idea of a Spanish conceit. The most important part of that Spanish conceit and all that planning and rules and so forth is not so much the fact that it looks Spanish, but that it has all these other properties about it. It has scale, it has a pedestrian scale, it has an interest in setbacks and heights of buildings, an interest in materials and so forth. It has more to do with this function of good town planning.
Santa Barbara achieved national recognition as an art center with the Santa Barbara School of the Arts, which opened its doors to the community in 1920.
I went landscaping with Ernie, and we got caught kissing in the landscape class, so he was expelled from the art school, and then he moved his studio to the old adobe where the post office is now. There was an old adobe there, no windows, no doors. And we had a lot of fun in that place. He was a very fine artist, did a lot of good work there, but we had parties that you would never believe.
We were able to bring major sculptors, landscape designers, painters to Santa Barbara, and at the corner of Canon Perdido and Santa Barbara Street, there was a small school established. That school gave us great teachers and great students who stayed in Santa Barbara.
Hard time here and everywhere you go. Times is harder.
When Franklin Delano Roosevelt was inaugurated into the White House in 1933, he established several New Deal projects to help revitalize the country after the Depression. With his Civil Works Administration, short-term job opportunities were created for small public works projects like the Santa Barbara County Bowl. This resulted in thousands of artists being put to work on public buildings throughout the country. In Santa Barbara, Douglas Parshall supervised several federal art projects, including Campbell Grant's mural at Santa Barbara High School and Parshall's own mural at Santa Barbara Junior High School. Even though the program was cut in 1943, it had helped many local artists establish their careers in public art.
We've never really seen another period where the financial support of artists, their participation in community life was so conscious.
Art in Santa Barbara was further institutionalized with the Santa Barbara Museum of Art opening in 1941 and a fine arts department at UCSB developing in the late 1940s. One of Santa Barbara's New Deal muralists was Joseph Knowles. Knowles had moved to Santa Barbara in 1927 to attend the School of the Arts, where he became proficient in color woodblock printmaking. In 1959, he designed a mosaic mural to be incorporated into a grocery store on Chapala and Victoria. The mural, California Today, depicts the evolution of transportation in California with 224,640 mosaic tiles cemented to the wall.
The proposal was to do a mural that portrayed the history of Santa Barbara. And the early decision was to divide the mural into panels that coincided with the architectural divisions of the building. So then the concept was to divide the history of Santa Barbara into that number of panels. Then the designs that he laid out were typical of my father, that kind of job. They were pretty tight and pretty architectural, and in a sense they might be more controversial today than they were then, although I think there's more to the designs than might meet the eye. When I look at it today, I ask myself, what do we see about how we were thinking about things in the 50s, and do we see anything about how my father felt about it? And I think we do. I think the 50s was the time in which teaching about our Indian cultural heritage in Santa Barbara was changing. When I was in grammar school in the 40s, the happy neophytes was the historical norm. And by the late 50s and certainly in the 60s, we revised our collective memory about what was really happening to those Indians during that period. And my father was sensitive to that, and I think you can see that sensitivity, and I remember his talking about it. If you look closely, you see that there's a big difference in the way the Indians are portrayed in the pre-contact panel, the way they're portrayed in the colonial period panel. But he certainly didn't feel that it would be appropriate to show the happy little Indians gleefully doing their little chores while the benign padres looked on. He basically portrayed those Indians as slaves, and that's what they look like. But I also see the boundless enthusiasm for the space race, and it's there. There's no question about it. And we certainly, everyone felt that way. We felt not only that it was a desperate challenge, but that it was leading to a great future.
Like Knowles, Channing Peake had received a scholarship to the School of the Arts. In 1930, he journeyed to Mexico where he assisted Diego Rivera on the frescoes for the National Palace. In 1940, Peake moved back to Santa Barbara, and in 1959, he collaborated with Howard Warshaw on a fresco called Don Quixote at the Santa Barbara Public Library.
He liked to paint on a large scale. He really liked big paintings and liked to do big paintings. He did small ones too, but I think that may have attracted him to do something on a large scale, and I'm sure a lot of artists want the public to see their works.
The library fresco was accomplished with Peake and Warshaw dividing the wall in half, and each painting his own side.
They each had their designs, but they worked together. They'd stand back and look at the other's design, so there was an interaction too in the designing of it, even though you can see the difference in their style.
Without any public review, they enjoyed creative freedom. The mural was originally painted onto the wall of the garden patio, and with the 1977 library remodel, it was moved inside.
We got a grant from the federal government. The city council was split. They had two plans. One was to build new city hall, one was to build a new library. And we voted to do the library instead of a new city hall. Well, we got into building the library, and people said, well, what are you going to do about this mural? You can't destroy this mural. And the city council said, there's no way. It's painted right on cement. You cannot take this thing off. You'd have to lift the entire wall of the library and move it. You can't do that. Well, one day a group of arts people came to the council, and they brought in this guy from Italy who had this new process. And he said, we could take this thing off the wall and literally take the paint off the wall and put it on the fabric and on burlap and then move it somewhere else. Well, the council members howled and said that's the most absurd thing they've ever heard of. And they wanted $15,000 to do this. And I said, this is so ridiculous. I think it's worth $15,000 to try it out. And so I got 3 other votes, and we got $15,000, and we gave it to this group. What they're going to do is they're going to put burlap over the top of it, glue it onto the outside of the painting, and then they're going to take little hammers and go along and hammer all along this thing, and all the paint chips would come off and be on the burlap. Then they would slowly peel the burlap off and put it down onto a board, and then they would just glue it onto the board and then slowly peel the burlap off. So I remember the most ridiculous thing I'd ever seen was they called the sheriff, who brought down a busload of prisoners, and they had prisoners chained together hammering the wall. And sure enough, they pulled this burlap off the wall, and it just looked like a mess. And I thought, well, there goes the $15,000. And they put this thing down on these boards, and they glued it down, and they slowly, with razor blades, started to peel it off. And there was the whole mural.
The history of Santa Barbara is closely tied to the ocean and waterfront, and our public art reflects that. An example of this is The Spirit of the Ocean by Ettore Cadarin. 2 local youths posed for the figures in 1928. Sculpted in porous sandstone, the fountain expresses our relationship to the ocean while being integrated into the historic courthouse building. Scott Peterson's sail structure at Chase Palm Park is another example of public art that integrates Santa Barbara's waterfront history into a piece that is also functional. It is inspired by early sailing vessels used by sailors like Juan Cabrillo and Francis Drake.